Okay, I got out of makeup in time. I think I made it. Because Chris gets very strict on presenting timeline-wise. Here at SIRENNET Television, we're going to be taking a look at a perimeter light that is available from Whelen Engineering. It's available on the website. You can check it out. But Chris has got stuff in his hands right now, and it's important that we occupy him safely. Let's go over right now and see what Chris has got.
Oh, thank you. Didn't see the camera was on there. So in depth in taking this apart here, well, starting to take it apart. It happens to be Whelen Engineering's PEL-CB, or better known as their LED Perimeter Enhancement Light. What's really trick about this light head is the curved bezel that it offers. So for your application, it would be against a flat panel. So pretend that my hand here happens to be the side of your heavy rescue body, up at the top portion of it. So this would be flat mounted here, and the light will then cast downward at a nice angle. So it'll illuminate the area around the vehicle, or seen depending on how close you are in vicinity to what you're doing in the evening time. So with this, it gives you better compartment lighting, better perimeter lighting, so that way nobody steps over hoses, reels, equipment that may be laying out, or comes around a corner and walks into some kind of an extension piece that's on the vehicle. It also works great for DOT applications. You can mount it on your headache rack, so it'll shine downward at an angle to illuminate the pickup truck bed or the back of the work body. Really, the application use is completely up to yourself, so it's really endless possibilities how you can use this. The back incorporates a rubber gasket, helps keep condensation, grit, and grime from getting into the back of the bezel here. It is removable, so we'll go ahead, get that out of the way. And with this light head being designed for illumination purposes, it's very simplistic. Has a 2-wire pigtail, a ground, and a lead, and when it's applied to 12 volts power, it just simply turns on for steady illumination. So unlike warning light heads where you can have a total of 3, 4, maybe even more wires for sync, high-low, pattern adjustment, none of that's here because, again, illumination lighting, very simplistic. The gasket off the back, zoom in a bit here so you can see really what's going on inside the bezel here. You can see it's nice and open around the electric fixture that houses the diodes. We'll get to that in a second because I'm going to remove it from the bezel here. Clear optic portion over the front here. So really, if your application requires the bezel to be finessed a little bit, you do have a bit of spacing where you could trim or possibly grind it down a little bit. So if you have a contoured top surface here, not as contoured on the bottom, you could adjust it a little bit to get it to seat nice and smooth on your application. Also, if you were curious, Whelen's famous Gore-Tex breather cap over a factory drilled hole in the back of the fixture here, and that is designed to allow heat to dissipate from the inside of the unit to the out. Really just with LEDs, they produce heat, so it has to have somewhere to go. That way the light has its nice, super duper longevity to it. 4 screws hold the electronic portion here to the bezel, so I'll go ahead, remove those. What's kind of a fun feature with the Perimeter Enhancement Light is that it also comes with a chrome bezel. Well, I shouldn't say also comes, it's available with a chrome bezel. So depending again where you're mounting it or what kind of vehicle it's going on, black, chrome, you're allowed to pick whichever one will suit you best. Or get black, you can then paint it, so you can customize it. So you can go red, you could go white, blue, green, or great old DOT orange. Really anything you want to do. So for removing the inside electronics from the bezel, it's on here nice and snugly, but if you get a finger down onto the edge, start to lift it up, and then just work your way along the side. And voila, your electronics and your diodes. Set that aside for a quick second here to show you the bezel with that removed. The lens here comes out, Give you a look at the back here. It has a linear diffuser across the center. So again, with that, it helps intensify the diodes that Whelen uses and then spreads the light all through the lens, and then it casts it down nice and evenly for you. Give you a look at the electronics here. You have a total of 6 diodes evenly spread through the housing here. Solder point for the lead and the ground, which then, once you apply 12 volts, sends the electronics through the circuitry, lighting up the diodes and doing what it does best inside all the fancy epoxy-covered electronics here. There's another 2 Phillips head screws here. I'll go ahead, remove those. So now with those removed, what can be done is the electronic assembly here. I'll pull the pigtail through a little bit since it is in a rubber retainer, so it does slide. The board can be separated, again, from its retainer housing here. So if you ever need to do any work with your perimeter lights in the future, vehicle servicing, easily removed and easily disassembled for any components that you should need to free. On the back here, in case you were curious, what's with the finning? With the diodes going into the housing portion here, and like I mentioned earlier, when it's been on for a bit, diodes produce some heat. The heat transfers from the board here to this assembly, and then the fins act as a heat sink transfer. Okay, give you a bit of a close-up look inside here. You can see again the center where the harness comes through, and then also the bottom factory incorporated hole where the Gore-Tex breather covers. So again, pull the harness through and get rid of the slack. I'll then line up the board with the holes going through the housing to reset in the 2 very small Phillips head screws. Put back together there. So again, show you the bezel here with everything freed up. You can see it's a 1-piece, comes out of a 1-piece mold. The lens here incorporates a rubber gasket, goes around the edge, so it helps keep everything nice and tight. It only slides in one way from the front. It's then held in with a lip in the front of the housing there. Around the electronic array, you can see there's a bit of a stepping that goes around the inside here. That will match up with the edge on the lens here. So we'll take the 2 pieces, marry them together by pressing them together nice and firmly. Make sure everything looks good from the front. And 4 screws will go back in to hold the bezel to the diode assembly. There we go. And 4th screw back in. So this piece now screwed back together, 1 solid piece. Take the surface mount gasket. You can see that there is a front to it and a back to it as well. So again, when you're putting it back onto the light head, it's very straightforward how it'll seat. 2 wires will go through the center here. Back together. Best part, take the pigtail, put it to power. It's black, goes to ground. White goes to my positive 12-volt source here. And the flip of a switch, there you have it. The PEL-CB, again, Whelen Engineering's Perimeter Enhancement Light, available in a white for your illumination needs, really on any application you can think of. Polycarbonate housing, 6 diodes inside a nice heavy-duty, well-designed light head here. Again, you can get it with a chrome bezel for a little flash, black for a little more subtle, or black again if you want to go custom, paint it up so it'll match to the body of whatever you're using it on. Go ahead, disconnect the power here. And there you have it. Bit of an inside look into Whelen Engineering's PEL-CB perimeter light, black, or PEL-CC for chrome. Thanks for spending some time with me here on SIRENNET Television. I'm Chris. Back to you, Stuart.
Well, there you have it. A quick look at a Whelen perimeter light here on SIRENNET, and always from the great Chris and my humbly self, Stuart. Thanks for watching SIRENNET Television.